We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out.
Man, what a weekend we just had in the ELF in the first round of the playoffs. All right. Shout out to Frankfurt, they're advancing. Shout out to Stuttgart Surge, they're advancing. And now we officially have the top 4 teams heading into the semifinals before the championship game. Welcome to Base Coverage, everyone. I'm your host, Jamal Clay. Thank you all for tuning in. If you haven't already, please, would love if you guys could subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, like the video. Most importantly, engage. Comment below. Let's talk about ELF ball, all right? Man, what a week we just had in the first round of the playoffs with the 2 games we just had, with the Galaxy beating the Berlin Thunder and with the Stuttgart Surge beating the Wrocław Panthers. Now, I'm gonna, as those teams move on to play the Vienna Vikings and the Rhein Fire, I'm gonna talk about I'm gonna check in on the fan bases for Berlin and Wrocław, and kind of give them my thoughts on not only the season but what they can look forward going to. And you know, in the second half of this show, we're gonna talk about, you know, some coaching opportunities that are coming available as ELF free agency, at least on the coaching aspect of it, is starting to form and paint its picture. But let's check on some local fan bases. All right, and the first one I want to talk about is the Berlin fan base, the Berlin Thunder. All right, if you are a fan of the Berlin Thunder, you should be 1, frustrated, but 2, optimistic. Right? Why should you be frustrated? This team was built for moments like these, to play these types of battles, for matchups like these, to go up against a Frankfurt whose strength of that defense is their back 7, is their secondary. Right? Berlin loaded up with the skill guys, bringing in a Max Zimmerman, play for Berlin Adler, bringing in an Aaron Jackson, who's the receiving leader in the GFL, to pair him up with a Robin Vilcek and Nikolai Schumann. Now, this team had quarterback issues throughout the season. Started with Donovan Isom, and then he ended up getting hurt. They ended up bringing in Slade Jarman, who did play for the Wrocław Panthers in year 2. Comes in relief in year 1, and finishes the season as the Berlin quarterback. Right. All right. So why should you be frustrated? I think that game against Frankfurt lacks some creativity on the offensive side. You know, being able to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. I don't think Berlin did a good enough job of doing that. Obviously, the game was cut short due to some tragic chain of events. But I think the offense lacked some creativity for the amount of weapons that they had. I think defensively, you know, they got all they could get out of the defensive side. You know, I think they had like 3 sacks that game. But Frankfurt was really killing them in the passing game. Jacob Sullivan, Mr. Reliable, had himself a day. All right. And the one area where they were killing Berlin was up the middle, you know, with the big play to Kevin Mwamba, or, you know, the check down pass to the running back that went for about 30 or 40 yards. So Frankfurt just looks like a team that's been in that position before, that knew how to attack Berlin, and they took advantage of that. So that's why you should be frustrated if you're a Berlin Thunder fan. But why should you be optimistic? This is a team that has literally improved every year in the ELF, from year 1 to year 2 to year 3. You know, my advice heading into the offseason for this team is bring back all your skill guys if you can, all your imports if you can. Find a quarterback. All right. And I'm not saying that the quarterbacks that they had weren't good enough to get the job done, but I think that is the missing part for this team. Who knows how the team would have ended if, you know, Donovan was the quarterback? Who knows, you know, what the team would have looked like with a different quarterback, or, you know, if Slade would have started there from the beginning, how, you know, what happened. Things changed throughout the whole season, but find you stability at that quarterback position, right? Someone to sweat with the players in training camp, and obviously, God forbid, any injuries. But I think heading in the offseason, if you could bring back your skill guys, the continuity is what's important, right? And you find your quarterback to go with them. Berlin could be a team that can maybe take that next step and win the playoff game next season. So we'll see. But if I'm a Berlin fan, I'm frustrated, but I'm optimistic. Let's go to Wrocław. Right, the Wrocław Panthers. Right, if I'm a fan of the Panthers, how should I feel? You should feel encouraged, and you should feel eager. All right. Why encouraged? This is a team where head coach Christensen literally got every ounce out of this team, literally squeezed all the juice he could out of this team and got them to the playoffs, right? Strong finish, some big wins, beating the Berlin. That was a huge win to go into the playoffs, right? This coaching staff, did a good job, bringing back Dave Likens on defense, his second year with them. All right, hitting on the Matt Vitale and Tony Tate, two guys that weren't even their original signees, right? Who ultimately end up, getting hurt throughout the season, which hampers some things. But that's the reason why you should feel encouraged, because you have a coaching staff that knows how to work and coach the players that are there. Why should you feel eager? If you're asking me, I think the clock is ticking on the Panthers. I think this is a team and it's a roster that's kind of aging, a little slow at the linebacker position. They need more skilled guys and reliable guys at receiver. And that kind of leads me into their plans heading into the offseason. If I'm with the Panthers, I need to find a reliable number 2 threat, whether that's a receiver, whether that's a tight end, whether that's a speed back. I need to find a reliable number 2. I can't rely on my American import, who knows who it's going to be next year, to do all the work, right? To get the most targets, to be the focal point of the offense. I got to find a good number 2, right? And then on the defensive side, DBs are going to go at a premium, and the Panthers need quality DBs if they're planning on bringing back, a Solomon Brown or AJ Wentland, and that's the route they want to go in that aspect of it with their imports. Then you got to be strong on that back end, or as strong as you can be on that back end when it comes to the defensive backs. Because I'm telling you, ELF free agency 24 DBs are going at a premium, right? And you got to be able to take advantage and get the best of them. So start your recruiting now. Right. So if I'm Berlin, I'm frustrated, but I'm optimistic. If I'm Wrocław, I'm encouraged, but I'm also eager because I know the clock is ticking. All right.
Hard work, they don't know about it. Hard work, they don't know about it.